Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week because the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves are right here on the table in front of me. So let's check them out. All right, starting things out this week, the newest run of the Demko FREEREIGN fixed blade with MagnaCut blades has hit the site. This is the standard drop point blade that was available the first time these knives came out. Then it was clip point was the next, I believe. Well, there's a Tonto as well, but the clip point in MagnaCut came out after the drop point in MagnaCut. Now the drop point in MagnaCut is back, and it's the first time with a black handle. So if you didn't like the muted or the blue colors that were available before, black is now an option. Of course, the other colors are still options. OD green for the handle, a blue, as well as a gray, all with that MagnaCut blade. And the price on these is about $200. For $125, you could go with an AUS 10 stainless steel blade. So same design, a lot less expensive, not nearly the same amount of high performance as the MagnaCut steel will provide, however, but still a good solid steel nonetheless. Now the deal with these is the MagnaCut blade is made here in the USA, and then the parts, namely the handle and the sheath, get shipped over from the same plant in Taiwan that makes the other standard versions of this knife. But with MagnaCut, of course, I mentioned high performance, you got toughness, you got edge retention, and you got high stainless as well. Pretty much the best well-rounded, or most well-rounded steel on the market today. Sheath, oh, I've got it over here now. The knife is always cool, and I always like to say, because I believe it, the sheath on this knife is even more noteworthy. It avoids using glass reinforced nylon for the main section here. The downside to glass reinforced nylon is the glass fibers that reinforce the nylon are harder than the steel. So occasionally, if done or inserted the wrong way, you can affect the edge of your blade, but you're not going to run into that problem with the nylon here. The disadvantage of standard nylon is it's not as strong enough on its own compared to glass reinforced nylon to actually hold its shape and hold the knife in place. And that's where this border comes in. This is glass reinforced nylon here, sandwiching the two halves of the standard nylon in between them to keep it nice and rigid. And the bonus of that as well is you can take this apart and clean things very easily, because with this type of sheath, as anyone who's used them for any length of time will know, dirt and stuff can get caught up in there, and that can scratch your blade. So that's a nice thing to be able to do. After all, what's the good of going with a material that's not going to scratch your blade if you're not going to be able to get like sand out of there at the same time? So pretty cool stuff. You've got a standard or a nylon drop loop here, Velcro and snap retention for the flap right there, so it's only going to come off when you really want it to come off of the sheath. And then with the holes and slots, plenty of aftermarket stuff. Or actually, sorry, not holes and slots. We have screws holding these in, but you do have the slots here, so aftermarket stuff is a thing that you could do, but not quite as much versatility with just the slots. But it is a spacing there where at least a standard tech lock will work just fine, if that's what you want to do.
Nylon on nylon on nylon.
But enough about the sheath. Back to the knife real quick. The thing I like about this design, 5-inch blade, I didn't mention that, 3/16 of an inch thick, high flat grind on the drop point. Actually, is that 5/32 of an inch? It's about 5/32, not quite a full 3/16. Let me check the specs. Maybe my ichrometers are out of calibration again. 0.1, yeah. Wait. Yeah, we are about 3/16. Daggone it,
You need glasses.
I need to be recalibrated, basically. So it's a sturdy blade. You got a full length tang. You can see the protruding tang there at the back of the pommel there. It's a very adaptable design. This could be a tactical fixed blade. This could be your camp knife. This could be your survival knife. This could be just a hard use fixed blade around the homestead, whatever you wish. It's a great knife. Next up, we have another MagnaCut fixed blade. This one more premium. This is the Spartan Blades Clandestina, American made, 5 3/4 inch MagnaCut blade, G10 handles, really, really nicely sculpted. Actually, sorry, these are not G10. This is a linen micarta handle. Pardon my mistake right there. And this is a little more purpose-driven than the FREEREIGN is. This is a tactical fixed blade, a fighter, if you will. It comes in at 360 bucks. It is superbly made. I mean, Spartan really does set a high standard with their fixed blades that is really hard to catch. They are phenomenally done. And this is a Bill Harsey design, so as you would also expect, the ergonomics and the balance are just impeccably spot on. Just very, very nicely done. But it's got that agility, it's got that strength too. You could certainly use this as the same things you might use that Demko. This could be a survival knife, this could be a hard working utility knife, homesteading knife, whatever the case may be. But it really does lend itself more to like that quick moves and quick thrusts, agile cuts, that sort of thing, on top of everything else it's capable of. The sheath is nylon. There we go. Comes with a standard strap with a snap right there, MOLLE compatible on the back, in addition to a Velcro loop for standard belt carry, and straps here on the front for attaching other things. If you have like pouches or that sort of stuff you want to attach to the sheath, you can make it an all-in-one system right there. If your fixed blade budget does not stretch into the hundreds of dollars, like these two knives right there, a new version of the K-Bar wrench knife. This is the Blackout version of the wrench knife, has just landed, and this is coming in about $49 right now. Always been a cool design, and now we got a new finish to go with it. It's kind of a rugged black. As you can see, it's got a bit of, I don't want to say dirt, it's more like just a rugged tool steel type finish, kind of like a pre-worn thing. This is not meant to look pretty, which is good because it doesn't look pretty. It is made to look like it's just been through the ringer. 3-inch blade, drop point shape, 425 stainless steel. It's simple stainless, but it's forgeable, drop forgeable, which is how they make these. And it offers pretty decent performance in the price range for sure. The sheath on these is injection molded. It's not Kydex. It is just an injection molded material. No belt attachment hardware is provided out of the box, but you've got enough versatility here to attach pretty much any aftermarket thing to it if you wish. It's basically intended to either A, live in your toolbox, or B, just be slipped inside your pocket and live that way. You can certainly neck carry it, hanging off the corner loop right there, and it wouldn't be too bad. I usually prefer like 2 straps here to avoid keeping the sheath from like wiggling around or twisting on you, but this only has the 1 sheath, or the 1 hole, so. But pull it out, you're ready to go. Super sturdy piece of steel, super cool aesthetics as well.
Thanks for thinking of impact-driven sockets.
Yeah, exactly. If you know that sort of thing, you know exactly what you're getting right here. It's made, it wears its manufacturing scars basically pretty well. Be a cool stocking stuffer this time of year. Decent enough price for that sort of thing for sure. Next up, we have got a ProTech TR3 Integrity, and this is not an automatic TR3, not an automatic ProTech, which is really cool to me because I've always loved the TR3 design, but I rarely carry a side opening automatic as an everyday carry. It's just usually not my preferred thing, although I certainly make exceptions. I've got some nice ones I enjoy. But this is one of my favorite ProTech designs, and now it is available as a manual, which is very cool. 270 bucks, you got S35 VN steel on this one. 3 3/8 of an inch long, very cool drop point shape. Kind of similar to like the Clandestina we looked at. It's very definitively kind of a tactical design, but it is still adaptable beyond that. It is just a very versatile, adaptable drop point blade shape right here. Blue aluminum for the handles with a cool milling pattern on it. We've got a single-sided deep carry pocket clip, the new wider style that ProTech has been using lately. Inset with flush head screws for easy access or easy repocketing. Hidden lanyard post at the, or lanyard slot at the back, and button lock action. So you can do that wrist flick thing, or you can pop the thumb studs and go to town without worrying about any sort of firing spring to slow things down. That's really the advantage that you get, I think, is it's just as fast, honestly, as an automatic knife, but way quicker and easier to close. There you go. Next up, we have got a Hogue. Actually, this is 1, 2, 3, 5 American-made knives right at the start. So for folks who are looking for that sort of thing, I've got you covered this week. This is the Hogue Mysto Collector's Series. Not an inexpensive knife. It is 320 bucks, which is a little bit above the standard versions. Not a huge amount, it's about 40 bucks more. So it could have been a lot more, quite honestly, but it wasn't a lot more. 3.4-inch MagnaCut blade, carbon fiber handles. It still has the same swirled milling pattern that the titanium versions have, but it's definitively more subtle. It's masked, really, because it lives on this carbon fiber material. You've also got some glowing inserts on the crossbar lock right there. Not really going to pick it up here in the full spectrum of light. Maybe we can get something in B-roll to show that off, though. In fact, the glowing is provided by Glow Rhino. That's who's making the little bits that they're using on that crossbar lock. You can see it on the logo right there on the back of the blade. And it is a elegant, slim type of everyday carry folder. Very gentlemanly, but pulled maybe a little bit away from that by the all blacked out nature here. It feels, I don't know, it's not a tactical knife, so deadly feels like the wrong word, but it has that sort of like menacing vibe. Menacing's not even the right word either. Like dangerous vibe, maybe. I don't know. It's a cool knife. You've got plenty of handle length there, even though it is a slim carry overall. So it is going to offer you a lot of utility in a very easily pocketed package. Deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible. All the controls, in fact, are symmetrical side to side as well. So it's a great lefty or right-handed carry. No matter which you choose, it will work quite well. All right, next up, we've got a bunch of new Fox knives from Italy this week. I'm going to start with a Jesper Vakne's design. This is the Chilin. Several different versions of it. I've just got two of them right here. The base model, or actually, is this the least expensive model? Let me check real quick. I believe it is, yeah. Coming in just a little bit over, oh, sorry, no, there is a $164 version. That comes with a G10 handle and N690 blade. These aluminum versions are coming in just between $200 and $210, depending on which one you get, also with an N690 blade, but with the more premium aluminum handle. The blue here looks really good. The ergonomics of it are very nice as well. Looks like a little unconventional, but unconventional is not even the right word, but it just melts in quite nicely. Downward cant to the blade means you're going to be able to use that tip very effectively for this size of a knife. You can get real close to the edge. There's nothing impeding your grip when you want to get right up there and push real hard at the heel of that blade. It's just striking me as very nice. And I love the blue in this. It's a little more muted than on the TR3. Actually, it's not that far off when I hold them up. Maybe it's the thin milled lines on this have an effect of sort of killing some of the reflections a little bit. Maybe that's it. But it feels just a hint less vibrant than that ProTech does right there. That is certainly a cool knife if you want the high performance variant, however, and this truly is a high performance variant. 301 and some change. You get a black burlap handle and M398 blade steel, M398. And basically the gist of that M398 is, in terms of production stainless steels, you're not going to find better edge retention than this, apart from some very few super exotic stuff. The edge retention you get on here is up there with some non-stainless steels like 15V or 10V. It rests somewhere in between those two if the hardness was at the same point. Fantastic edge retention with this. Not the toughest steel in the world, so keep that in mind, but you do have enough thickness here to lend the blade a little more strength, full flat grind to mitigate that a little bit, giving you decent slicing, maybe more than decent slicing characteristics on this, but very cool to see that steel just kind of starting to percolate out into a few models. We've seen a Spyderco with it. Now we've got this Fox joining the ranks. This Fox joining the ranks. Very cool material and a really sweet design. Next up, we have got the Metamorphosis Radius from Fox, the A2 Metamorphosis Radius. That thing I said. 372 bucks for this. 3.3-inch M390 blade, micarta handles with titanium providing the rest of the structure alongside of it. And actually, I actually just noticed kind of how cool the handle was. The two pivot sections here, the bolsters, are anchored in the micarta right here. Then you have just plain micarta slabs going all the way back until the backspacer at the back joins those two sides together. That's pretty neat, actually. I like that. Pocket clip, but you have a folded over pocket clip with a mounting hole, kind of like the wire clips that we talked about. Actually, we haven't talked about, but there's an example right there. But this is what you're getting on the Metamorphosis. And the cool thing here is, of course, Fox's radius lock system. And they've kind of evolved it from the original radius model that gives this lock its name. On that one, to actuate the blade, you had to push down on the button here, follow through on the arc, and it's in the locked position there. To close it, same thing, push down and rotate closed. In this case, you don't actually need to push that down though, however, to open it, because you've got a flipper tab now, and they're making it work just fine with that without having to push the button down. And then button closed, and away you go. I will say the flipping action is not as crisp as like a nicely detented frame or liner lock folder, but it does work, and you've got the advantage of finger safe closing action there. Fingers staying well clear of the sharpened edge as you go to work. And I'm gonna call this a sheep's foot style blade. So you've got a good heavy working blade to go with the rest of that nice working finish. There's also a new kind of modified Wharncliffe version, two modified Wharncliffe versions of this that have hit the site, but I didn't have one today. Maybe next week. But those are also available if you want to check those out. Next from Fox, you've got the Stefan Merck designed Kronos, also with a Wharncliffe style or a modified sheepsfoot style blade, or as the website says,
modified cleaver.
Reverse Tonto on the website. $340 and some change for this with a 3.5-inch MagnaCut blade. More of a conventional control scheme on the backside rather than the radius lock right there. You've got a titanium frame lock. Cool hardware around the pivot, however. The backside is captive there, so it's not going to spin around as you adjust the front. And the front also has this triangular piece around it for a little bit of accenting pattern, and that carries through to the rest of the handle as well. Similar handle construction to the Metamorphosis, actually. This backspacer here coming around the sides and becoming part of the handle itself rather than just a connecting piece between the two sides. Milled pocket clip, very sturdy lockup in that position. Opening methods, you've got flipping, which works great. Ball bearings in the pivot, as you might expect. You've got the blade cutout for reverse flicking. This is begging the question, can you front flip this? And kinda, yeah, you actually can. Due to the heavily jimped section there at the front. The slow roll actually works pretty well, in my opinion. Yeah, that's pretty nice. The cool thing about this, to me as well, for folks who really like to feel like they're getting the most blade possible in the handle, I mean, look how massive this blade looks compared to the handle. It feels like you're really getting the max out of this pocket space that is required of you to carry this particular knife. Very nice. Next up, we have a Fox Bastinelli collaboration. This is the Honos, or Honos. I'm not sure how to, the H might be silent in that. 174 for this version right here. 3-inch blade, B-cut steel, stainless, of course, and G10 handles. No pocket clip on this knife, which is an interesting choice. In fact, it does come, however, with a pocket clip. It's just not attached to the knife. You've got a leather pocket slip with clip to keep it captive in your pocket. The nice thing about that is, one, it's an ambidextrous sheath, so righties and lefties, no problem, and righties and lefties, no problem in use as well. No clip to get in the way and mess up the ergonomics, and just creates a nice, clean looking knife overall as well. Digging this blade shape here. It's a modified Wharncliffe. You've got, it's one of those things, it's those kind of in-betweens. It feels like a modified Wharncliffe though. It's almost into drop point territory due to the way you're actually holding it, but you're gonna get more like Wharncliffe-y vibes in use out of this. Very a very acute tip, can be very nice on pull cuts and scoring cuts. You've got a lot of flat, almost flat edge here for some pretty aggressive cutting as well. It feels pretty good in that grip, even though it's a fairly aggressive droop down to the handle here. Droop sounds negative. It's not meant to be. It's descriptive. Yeah, it feels good. It rotates around its axis pretty well too, actually. That feels nice. Anyway, if you know, you know. Very cool knife. This next knife, let me see. Let me make a determination here real quick to see if my initial thought follows. I think my two favorite knives on the table today are the Chilin, which we already looked at, and this right here, which is a new version of the Italico. And the existing versions of this knife never did too much for me. They were always fine, but they had a very different blade shape than this, kind of a modified sheep's foot, and it was fine. It just didn't, I didn't find it personally memorable. But this drop point right here, I like a lot, actually. 121 bucks for this. You got a 2.36 inch blade, N690 in this case. Injection molded handles. This is a fair bit less expensive than the other versions of this with the sheep's foot blade that are out. And this is a small knife. It's definitely a 3-finger knife for me. You can see exactly how it is fitting there, but it feels, you know, bigger than it is. It feels very secure. I like the thumb ramp on the top here. It feels like aggressive in a way. It feels like you could do really good work with this. It's a short blade, but you get as much edge as possible out of that, as you can see right there. I'm glad they resisted the urge to put a finger choil here in order to give you a fuller grip, but less actual edge. Because the way the rest of this handle is made, like there's definitely enough grip there for some more aggressive cutting, which is not something you would normally do with a small blade, or a blade this small necessarily, or even feel like you could, but you kind of feel like you could in this case. I like it. The blade stock is maybe slightly on the thicker side for a knife this size. You do have a high flat grind to counteract that a little bit in terms of improving your slicing characteristics. You do have a swedge at the top as well to remove some drag moving through some angled cuts. Yeah, it's just really nice. Wire pocket clip. It is not reversible and it is not deep carry, but it is there, so you've got that clip option. This could be a decent fifth pocket carry for some folks, depending on the size of your fifth pocket, of course. We have ball bearings in the pivot and flipper tab for opening, and as you can see, the action is quite good, ready to go. Similarly sized, but with an even girthier handle, we have got the Baby Core, another Jesper Wagner's design. New, less expensive versions of this from the versions we've had previously with an injection molded handle. A few different colors are available. This is the big red cinnamon flavor. This is one of those prices that it frustrates me. It's at $120.05. Could you say $119.95 or something? I don't know. It's just...
It's harder to make change.
Sure, whatever. Anyway. Modified, this is one of those weird blades or hard blades to classify. We say modified sheep's foot, but look at all that belly right there. That is a decidedly un-sheep's foot-like characteristic, but you've got a slightly more, you know, blunt styled tip. I'd say
big belly spay.
It's, ladies and gentlemen, Thomas just said something very astute, and not even, if he was trying to be smart alecky or not, he actually nailed it, I think.
And that's my quota.
That's all we got. That's all you'll get until next year. Thankfully, we got just a month or so to get to that point. Yeah, I'd say it's more of a spay blade than a modified sheep's foot. Very interesting. Which is doubly interesting because, you know, Stockman pattern knives usually come with a sheep's foot and a spay blade. I don't know where I'm going with this, but my mind has to work through these things in some fashion, and you just get to be witness to it now in this case.
Sorry.
Anyway, it's a smaller knife. You do have a choil here in front of the flipper tab. It's not going to be big enough for really, I think, anyone's fingers, unless you have like super dainty digits. And as you can see, I do not. So I will not be putting my finger in front there. But the 3 fingers I can get on the rest of the handle are enough to give me a good purchase. Maybe not quite as secure filling as the Italico, but still good enough, especially for a knife this size. We've got a wire pocket clip. It is deep carry in this case, and it is reversible as well. Like the Italico, we've also got an inset liner lock and ball bearings in the pivot. Action is pretty decent. Let's try the reverse flick. That actually worked really well. Surprising considering how small the blade hole is, but there you go. Yeah, cool little, kind of tough feeling small knife. I like the full flat grind on it though. It's going to slice okay enough, especially if you're pushing down using all this belly section as you go through a cut. That's pretty cool. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Next up, we have got several slip joints to take a look at. And the first looks nothing like a slip joint, and it's because it looks like a Spyderco Chaparral. It's because it is a Spyderco Chaparral. They just happen to have introduced a slip joint version of it.
Chaparral, looks like a Chaparral.
It is indeed, in this case, a Chaparral. We have got Birdseye maple for the handles and the closed-backed slip joint construction, as you can see, and the same crazy thin blade stock that the Chaparral series has always been known for right there as well. $207 for this. You've got XHP steel, a carpenter-made steel, which is, again, the same stuff you would expect from the standard Chaparrals, just in this non-locking version. Wire pocket clip, almost deep carry, and reversible, and the same great Chaparral ergonomics. Like, I can't stress this enough. This just feels like a Chaparral because it is a Chaparral. It just has a different lock mechanism going on. The cool thing about Spyderco's kind of signature design language they use, where they have this this finger choil style thing here around the pivot, is even though it's non-locking, if the blade were to come undone and start to close on you, your index finger should be there to prevent it moving too much further. So you've got a degree of safety and stability that is not enjoyed by many other slip joint designs on the market. There you go. You got the convenience and the take it just about anywhere type of construction of the slip joint. Very slicey blade, very nicely made. Potent, I didn't know it. Let's, if your Spyderco slip joint budget is considerably smaller, how about we're going to go from 207 to 27. This is the Bug. New versions recently unveiled of several of the Bug series. So the Ladybug, not the Ladybug, but a few of the larger sizes also available with G10 handles for the first time. This is blue, red is also available. You've got a 1 1/4 inch blade of Sandvik 12C27, and actually it's not much thinner. I was gonna say, like, I wonder if it's the same thickness as the Chaparral. It is actually a tiny bit thinner, that's funny. And it is a slip joint. Less of that safety thing going on because, you know, there's only 2 fingers with which to hold this handle, but yeah, there's a little bit going on. I wouldn't trust it as much, but you probably aren't gonna be pushing this as heavily as even that Chaparral now, are you? Fantastic gift item this time of year. Since we're in that season. Actually, and this wasn't even intentional. We've got red and green coming up next. So, slip joints. We're still on slip joints. Thomas is just over there, like, letting me hang myself, letting me talk.
That's what the edit's for.
RoseCraft. This is the Lick Creek Loom Fixer. Continuing RoseCraft's tradition of names that make you raise your eyebrow, perhaps. But it also continues RoseCraft's tradition of punching way above its price point in terms of the quality you're getting for a classically made slip joint. $63, you got a 2.7 inch D2 blade steel, so more edge retention than other stuff, similarly made stuff in this price range, with that classic sheep's foot style blade and the sway back handle with rose madder red bone handles on this one. They're just really, really nicely made. Yeah. Sway back shape, of course, works exceptionally well in a reverse grip, which is going to work where you see it often on like pruning blades. This is not a pruning blade, but it has that same kind of inverted grip that's going to work, or reverse grip that's going to work nicely there. Nice half stop on it as well. Just everything about it made to top-notch standards. Next, we have an case knife, and this is the new Barnboard Jig Lime Green bone handles, shown here on the Razor knife, which is the vault pattern knife for this year, but you can get it on several other of the case patterns at this point in time, including the Trapper, the Medium, Stockman, the Tiny Trapper, the Rustlock, the Sodbuster Jr., the Barlow, and the Seahorse Whittler. Not all of them are in stock at the moment, but the Seahorse Whittler looks really good, in my opinion. But here you go, really cool bone texture, really cool color on it. It's, you know, the Barnboard jig. It looks like old weathered boards you might see on the side of a vintage barn or a you know, old shed, that sort of thing. They're weathered, they're rustic, they're
Fatigued.
excellent. They're fatigued, but like they feel nostalgic in a really good way. I like it. I'm getting slightly emotional right here because I'm thinking now of like adventures I've had in like old barns and, you know, around them, and not even what you're probably thinking, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Not to say he was a barnstormer.
No, definitely not. Just, you know, like walking around like a dumb kid with a slingshot and like breaking stuff and just, you know, having a good time. Let's come to some other cool colored stuff, shall we? Like, I shouldn't even say several, like even more than several new Knafs Lander 2s and 3s have just hit the site. I've just got a couple of them right here. You know, a couple Lander 2s. We've got a few with this solar flare milled aluminum pattern. There's a blue, there's a red, I think there's a black. This, of course, is the red version right there. It looks and feels really cool. 3 1/4 inch blade, S35 VN, adaptable drop point shape. It's got that same great crossbar locking action you've come to expect from the Lander 2, or basically any Kaiser knife out there, because this is made by Kaiser, which means it is the quote-unquote clutch lock, which you can adjust the spring tension on if you wish. Deep carry pocket clip, reversible with a filler plate on the front side to keep things a little more even. So you've got, as you can see from that as well, you've got flush mounted screws and an inset clip to make it quite easy. And I was actually worried that the ribs on here would make it a little bit more difficult in and out of the pocket. I'm pleased to say that upon testing, that was not the case. So there you go, I got that going for you. Mexican blanket Lander 2. Oh, I should say about 180 bucks for that aluminum version right there. 145 for this Mexican blanket G10 version right here. And that's just a pleasant look overall. So you got the Knafs logo, or Knafs lettering, really subtly done underneath the pocket clip right there. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Cool thing about the Lander 2 is it's not a large knife. It's only a 3 1/4 inch blade, but it feels like it gives you a lot in your hand. And part of that's the very neutral and very open handle design. You can get a lot of grip on that without it being a lot, without it being too much in your pocket, or even for that matter, in your grip. Lastly, we've got a new Lander 3, several new colors of the standard Lander 3, as well as the new Lander 3 clip point just hitting the site. 2 3/4 inch S35 blade with the clip point shape, 135 for this. Comes with those brown paper micarta handles and a gold anodized liners right there, which echoes the thumb stud to give it a really cool type of vibe overall. There you go. Lots of Landers. Check them all out at the link below.
Might as well be an airport with all those Landers.
Next up, we have the Benchmade 82 Laro. And this actually came out a few weeks ago, but we didn't buy enough for our shelves because you folks bought them out super quick. So I didn't actually have a chance to put it on the video. So I'm correcting that now that we have them back on the shelf. Here you go. This is a slightly smaller balisong than most of Benchmade's traditional fare in this type of genre. 3.6 inch blade, MagnaCut steel, and a very useful shape and geometry to that blade. It's thin enough, the grind, while not high, with kind of a saber height flat, it's combined with the stock that is here, is gonna be a decent slicer. And yes, I am the bore right now who's talking about a balisong as an actual usable knife, because most bally users these days, of course, I don't think they actually use their knives. Now I'm gonna get in trouble in the comments section.
Fire away.
From the bally folks who do use their knives. If so, I apologize. However, Ballies are like OTF automatics in that most of the ones on the market have fairly thick geometry going on. This one, however, resides a little bit more on the useful slicey side, and I like that. And the size is appropriate too. I would actually be very, very happy using this as an everyday carry, at least in the blade department for sure. We have billet titanium handles. We have Benchmade's very cool spring-loaded latch there. That is always a fun thing. The action itself is nice and smooth. I am far from an expert flipper, but I can tell this feels like just quite nice overall. Very, very like buttery in its action, which is very cool. I also always got to demonstrate the spring-loaded latch from the outside. Very satisfying. Now, I mentioned this as sort of an everyday carry balisong because it can certainly do that. It does in fact come with a little sheath device here. So you've got a clip on it. The unit itself clips into the Kydex right here, or is it Boltron? It's Boltron. I'm not going to demonstrate that because Benchmade themselves have very carefully and tightly packed the little microfiber bag into there for shipping, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get it back in there. Apologies all around. So I'm just going to leave it right in there. There you go. Sorry, folks. Next up, did I mention the price on that? $5.85 for that knife. Next up, we have got the Thoth from Kansept. That's Kansept with a K-A. These start at about 245 bucks. Actually, the least expensive is just under 200 bucks. Actually, I've got that least expensive one over here as I reach for it. Maybe I should put that one on the table. That's with a titanium handle, micarta bolsters, and the black stone-washed blade. The steel in this case is 20 CV, so the performance is very good. Very nice edge retention. This version right here kind of exemplifies, I think, where Kansept shines as a brand. Is if this were, let's say, a knife from We Knife Company, it would probably be about double what this Kansept is, or at least another 100 to 150 bucks on top of it. This is not a cheap knife. You get a lot of high-end stuff here, however, for a price that is less than you would expect. It's less than I expect, even seeing a lot of knives like this day to day. 234 bucks for this version right here, with the anodized titanium inlet or bolsters matching the pocket clip right there with that cool, what are they calling this particular finish? Lightning strike finish on it. It's very cool. It looks like roiling storm clouds, quite honestly. This is another knife like the ones, that Fox we looked at before, where it feels like you're getting the max blade possible to the handle itself. It is offering a ton. 3.43 inch blade. Overall length itself is 8.03 inches. So actually, that doesn't sound as impressive when you're looking at the specs, but in hand, that really does come across. It feels like you're maxed on the blade. Part of it's the height of it here as well. The other cool thing about it, you've got a high hollow grind. So the geometry right behind the edge stays very thin for a good portion of the blade. What should we call this blade shape, Thomas? I completely disagree with what our website says. How many times does that happen? Often enough. They're calling it a clip point. I'm not on board with that.
It is clipped.
It's like a clipped tip, like just barely. It's more, it's got a bit of, if you want to get technical, it's got a bit of that. It's got a bit of Tonto with the transition point here. It's got a bit of modified something or other. I don't know. I don't care what you call it. I really do, actually. Just gonna have to live with it, aren't I?
Clip toe.
Let's check out the opening action. You've got a blade cut out for opening, whether you're going to use that with your thumb or with your finger for that reverse flick. Both of them are easy to do. You do have a frame lock here, but it is covered up by the bolster here. So if you're using a standard thumb open, it's kind of hard to accidentally put pressure on the lock bar, which would impede the action. So you don't have to worry about that so much with this design right there. Greg Schaub is the designer for that. I should mention if I haven't already. Next up, last but not least, we have the Mechforce Shard. This is a Kilby collab, an integral frame lock flipper right here. Check it out. Single piece of titanium for the handle, wrapping around the back essentially. Starts as a bar. They mill everything out in the center to make room for all the internals, and then they put these copper carbon foil inlays front and back as well. That's just a nice bonus. Blade itself, we've got an upswept Tonto, and in fact, does that actually, It's actually kind of straight backed, if I were to be more specific, but the edge itself makes it feel like it's kind of almost that upswept type of tip. We've got compound grinds on M390 steel here, so hollow at the back, flat at the tip for a little more strength. Almost a full-length swedge for both looks and, of course, relief from cutting pressure as you're moving around curved cuts. M390 steel, as mentioned, great edge retention, 3.375 on the blade length. Handle feels pretty good. It's not an overly complex shape, so it actually fits the hand pretty nicely. As a result, frame lock for the locking, and flip ring action with ball bearings in the pivot. Yeah, it's like everything I've come to expect from premium frame lock flippers, with the added benefit here, of course, being integral as well. That puts it over the top a little bit. Hidden lanyard point here at the back for folks who enjoy putting that stuff on your knife. Here you go. Check it out. I think we have a couple different flavors as well. Like I said, $435 for these knives if I haven't already. You've got some non-coated blades. You've got some different inlay options. Right now, at least 9 different ones to choose from on the site. So you can check them out down below. That is all we've got for right now. Let me know what you thought of the knives in the comments. If you want to purchase any of these knives, check out the links in the description. Those will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And if you're on the fence on some of these, remember we have recently added a sezzle payment option, so you can break it up into 4 easy payments if you wish. And of course, while you're over at the Knife Center, don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because the least thing you can do when you buy a knife for yourself or someone else this time of year is earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.